Okay, so finally got a Cheetah 300EX. It arrived yesterday. So this is for anybody that's looking to buy one of these. I mean, I looked on YouTube. I watched just about every video from every power sports shop about this, but I haven't found a single video from an owner other than that one guy that has like his GoPro and he's like driving it around. But other than that, I haven't found anything about these. So I was really interested in the 300EX because we have a 200 XRS and that's 168 cc's, something like that, which is great. It'll haul me and one of my brothers around. So it could carry, 500 pounds or so. And then there's this like 12-mile trail that we drive on. And it has some pretty steep inclines on it, maybe like 7-8% grade or something like that. And it'll carry us up it, but it slows down. You can, definitely power loss on there. Still makes it all the way. So I wanted to check out the Cheetah 300 because it's a 275cc versus 168cc. So really interested in this. We were looking at this and the Challenger 300. We really like the look of this better than the Challenger. I just think it looks cooler. But the first thing you'll notice, and we went back and forth, which like just wondering about the differences, but this is marked as a Cheetah 300X. And even though they call it an EX on their website, it's weird because the models in their images are actually marked 300EX instead of just 300X. So I went back and I watched a bunch of the videos, and most of the people, if they're talking about a 300EX, if you watch in the video and it kind of swipes past one of these marked parts on the unit, it's marked a 300X. So this is what I was expecting to get. I expected it to say 300X, even though on their website it said 300EX. So that's the difference that is kind of confusing once you like are kind of looking at it and you're like, okay, this is what I want. And then you see, oh, well, this is a 300X, this is a 300E, this is a 300EX. I don't think there's a difference between the 300X and the EX. I think it's the same thing. The difference is between the 300X/EX and the 300E. And the difference is these mirrors. You get these mirrors with the EX. You get this light bar with the EX, and then wheels. Let me get this side. So you get these like chrome and black wheels, which is cool. And then the back, I noticed the frame, because we were thinking, well, let's just get the 300E and then put the light bar and mirrors on it. Well, the frame's actually different on the E. It doesn't have this second bar, this like 2-bar back basket sort of thing. So it would basically, the 300E doesn't have any of this. It just has a flat like roll bar platform on the back, no sides to it or anything like that. Let's see. I mean, the main differences that I was looking at. So when we got this one, there was some problems with it. So it showed up last night, and immediately we noticed that the tires on the side were canted in a lot. And if you look here, there's this link. This is where this has been since it arrived. The tie rod end bolt, the threads are ruined right in the middle, and so I think that they had put it in this hole on the frame, but they didn't add a nut to it. And when the guy was unloading it, he had ratchet straps pushing down on this frame. It ran right over here, and I think during transport it was in there. The tie rod end was in there, but there was no nut on it. And so it kind of worked against those threads and kind of smashed them down, and eventually worked its way out, and then ended up, down here when we got it. The same thing on the other side. The passenger side one is missing too. This is not hooked up either. Same thing. The threads are eaten up in the middle of it. Threads at the end of the bolt are good, but there's no nut. So we're missing one nut on the driver's side, one nut on the passenger side, and we're missing 2 bolts and nuts on this fender. So you can see it's like all floppy because there's nothing in there. But we let Go Power Sports know there's some damage to it. So we're hoping that they'll send us those 2 bolts. I can replace the bolts and nuts on the fender, or I mean, we're hoping they'll send us those 2 nuts, but the tie rod ends, we need 2 new tie rod ends because of the threads. So historically, Go Power Sports has been pretty good about replacing anything that's been damaged. We have a lot of stuff we've bought from Go Power Sports, like this 200 XRS, 2 Hurricanes here, a Hurricane on that side, and then one of the mini bikes showed up with a slashed tire. This is that tire, and they were really good about sending us a replacement pretty quickly. The problem is, though, this is that tire that was slashed. We tried to fill it with some sealant, but the gash was way too big. It just all poured out. You can see I don't know if you could see that. There's a big gash on the side of it. But the tire that Go Power Sports sent wasn't the same type, wasn't the same tread pattern, which is not really a big deal, but we went ahead and bought a spare tire, the same spare tire, and then gave the one they sent us as a replacement to my brother because he had a flat. So they've been pretty good about replacing stuff. Hopefully they will be good about replacing these 2 things, because there's nothing I can do about that. I could go match those tie rod ends somewhere, maybe unbolt them and then see if I can match them somewhere. But so what we're planning on doing is taking this out to do a top speed test. And the most important thing I want to do with it is a hill climb with some weight in it, so we can see basically that power versus what we've had with the XRS. So one thing I wanted to point out was the Trailmaster Cheetah 300EX comes with space for a winch, and that to me is a really big selling point. I actually didn't know this came with space for it. The winch I put in there. It doesn't come with a winch, but it does come with a space to put a small winch in there. We were looking at the, I think it was the Challenger, and that advertised a winch point on something that I saw, but we ended up going with the Cheetah, and I didn't think that was even a thing on this. So for anybody looking, this is 2024, and at least the model I got had a plate down here for a winch, and so I just went to Harbor Freight, got a Badlands, what is it, a ZXR, Badlands ZXR 2,500 pound winch, and installed that. A problem that you'll run into, though, when you install that is the winch plate on the bottom. For one, I couldn't fit this winch in here through this side or the other side. So I had to take out the bottom plate under here. There's 4 bolts. You take out that plate, and then I pushed the winch up through the bottom, and then I slid the plate on under it so it had something to sit on. Then I reinstalled the plate. Then I installed the winch onto that plate. But I put the plate in. When I took it out, I flipped it over and put it upside down. I don't know if it was installed backwards or what, but upside down, it has 2 holes on it that line up perfectly with this. And you can see how centered that spool is on the front bumper. That's where everything actually lined up, and it lines up perfectly. And then the winch came with this and a couple bolts, and so the bumper already has these holes here that line up perfectly with this particular winch. I don't know about any others, but that was pretty cool to see that it came with that. And we also paid, we paid $900 for this fully assembled, an additional $900. I would recommend against that for everybody. Don't do it, just do it yourself. Whoever is assembling these, they don't really care about if it's put together well or not. There was a lot of things that were loose. The front fenders were barely hanging on. the light bar was barely hanging on. The good news is all the parts we were missing, Go Power Sports called us and said they were gonna get those to us. They won't be here in time for our trip, but at least they are replacing them, so that's pretty good. It's been a couple days, so I've taken off all the decals on this, so it's been debranded. Basically, we installed a winch and then, you know, ran the wiring up through here, and then we mounted. There's actually two boxes, like the receiver and then the circuit breaker back there, but they're behind the foot plate where somebody's feet would go. So all out of the way, and then we just ran the wiring under this channel and then behind the seat, because that's where the battery is over there. I think we're almost ready. This one we'll probably just drive around the neighborhood today to see how it works. Somebody's mowing out there. It does shimmy from side to sides, and this back tire is like it's mounted crooked. So I'll probably see about fixing that. Hopefully we can fix it before we leave. We're leaving in 2 days to go on an 8-day trip, so we got to figure out which one we're taking. I would like to take this one. My trailer is not big enough though to carry both that 200 XRS and the Cheetah, so looks like I need a bigger trailer probably, because we're gonna be taking 3 Hurricanes on the back, probably the Cheetah in place of this, and then another Hurricane on that side, so we can fit 4 bikes in one 2-seater. So we'll see how that goes.